Ah, there you are. I wondered where you'd been. Well, what have we got today? Well, we got a few things going on with bits of glass, but we'll come to that in a moment. First of all, I want to just talk about something that's going to be coming up as a series of maybe 3 or 4 different videos, maybe more or less, depends whether people watch it or not. It should be very interesting, actually. Yes, my mate Alan Bruce that is, came around just a week or so ago and he said, "Oh, you'll never guess what I've got." And I said, "What? Malaria?" He said, No, nothing like that. He said, "I've got some magazines." I said, "So? I've got millions of them." He said, "Yeah, well, these particular magazines date back a while, and I've had a quick look through some of these. There's a pile of them over there, just off camera. And I've got these first 2, and they'll be coming up in subsequent videos, but I just want to show them to you, whet your appetite, that's the word. Yeah, there it is. It's probably on the screen now, the Beat Instrumental from June 1975, costing 25 pence. And it was also International Recording Studios. I distinctly remember buying them myself back in the day. So that'll be issue 1, or video 1. And the next one I've got is this one here. Yeah, this one's a Beat Instrumental and Songwriting and Recording. Oh, maybe somebody's had the boot. I don't know. This was December 1978, and by the way, it had gone up to 40 pence from 25 pence. That's almost, that's 80%. I don't know. It's a lot of difference. On the front of this one is the man, B.B. King. As you can see on the screen now, it includes a load of stuff, including Berman, B-E-R-M-A-N, which we'll talk about some other time. Well, that's it for them for now. Let's move on to what we came here for. Ah, good old tubes. Yeah, there's a phrase, tubes. Remember them? Valves, they call them in England. And we could say Mullard, but unfortunately not this Mullard. But they do go back a long way, and in guitar amps, of course, they were probably there first. Yeah, they beat the transistor, I think. Not that it really matters. What this video is about is why would I go and buy tubes like this one and spend a fortune on them when I can go and spend a lot less fortune on these things. JJ, they ring a bell. Yeah, it's quite an important aspect of your guitar and your amp, because without your amp you've got no guitar anyway. So let's have a closer look at some of these tubes and why I don't buy them. Well, why I don't buy them anymore. Let me rephrase that. So what I propose we do is I'll bring the camera closer and we'll just talk about my experience with these different tubes. I've got a whole box full here, and I've got another box this big out there in the studio, and it's a bit of an eye-opener really. And people, as I said, often ask me why I do what I do with tubes and why I hate these and hate them and so on and so forth. Well, it's not really hate, it's more a dislike. So let's go in closer and we'll run through tubes in no particular order until we get to the good ones. So let's take a look at these so-called Mullards. Yeah, now these Mullard tubes, I did fit into a particular amp, but what I'm going to do is pull one out that's in the packet and have a look at the end here and things like that. So let's just whip one out, so to speak, and see what we've actually got. Here we are, let's have a look what's in here. Aha, great. My friendly JJ EL34s. And they probably came out of this packet here. These came from Carlton, but it's another story. There they are, EL34L. Well, what's wrong with that, Tony? It's all good, isn't it? Well, it might be to you. But if you've noticed, it's in a Mullard box. Well, why is it in a Mullard box? Well, The reason it's in a Mullard box, and the reason I don't particularly get on with JJ, is this brand of tubes here, these things, are the only ones I've ever had fail, ever. Yep, after years and years of practice, these are the ones. And they were in a diesel amp, and I turned it on one day, and one of them lit up like a house bulb. Yeah, lit the whole room up, so I turned it off really quick, and saved the amp, by the way. But what it didn't save was the tube. The tube was naffed. It just failed all by itself. What more can you say about them? Let's leave them at that for now, and I'll tell you what happened with these. These were pulled out of my 1959 JMP. That's where they came from. And I thought to myself, not good enough. So what we'll do, on recommendation of a guy actually on YouTube, he said, oh yeah, you want to have a go with these Mullards. They're great. And you know what? They are. Very, very interesting tubes. And they work and sound, so far, perfect. Now if you take a look at the end of these tubes, this is where the Mullards come in, and this is how they were supplied. You can see that they all passed, they're all the same measurement, all the same everything, which is, in my opinion, it's quite important actually. And it's something I always buy, is matched tubes. I'm not saying you will, but I always do. So that's enough about them for now, and we'll be back. Well, you might be asking me what came out of the 1959 SLP. Yeah, well, it was Marshall tubes. And here they are, Marshall tubes. You can see that it's all black around the bottom. See that? It's a surefire way of knowing that this thing's been very, very hot. And it's also week 28, 2010. So when I bought the amp, it was already 10 or 11 years old and nobody changed the tubes, so I decided to change them. And silly me, I did buy some JJ tubes, but we'll come back to why they weren't fitted a little bit later. All I can tell you is the Marshalls came out and the Mullards in the distance over here went in. Oh my God, Tony, what have you got there? Oh, Svetlana. It says here, from TSL 100. Yeah. So, I fitted them into the TSL 100. Oh no, I didn't. No, these came in the TSL 100. And you can tell that generally by the sticker here. That's the sort of Marshall sort of way of doing things, from what I believe. You can see all four of them are all orange. Truth is, it doesn't really tell you much about the matching, does it? In fact, it doesn't tell you anything about the matching, it's just there. There's the tube. Svetlana EL34, these are winged Cs, if you've ever heard of them. And what was great about winged Cs, you can see they've been used a little bit, just a slight discoloration, and this was out of position 4. And the reason I pulled them out really is I didn't know the history of them, but there they were. And yeah, very good tube. There's no doubt about that. But the problem is, of course, I didn't know the history, so out they came into the store. It's no reflection on these tubes because I rate these particular tubes, these Svetlanas, these winged Cs, very highly. In fact, if you go and try and buy some today, you'll find that while there's newer issues of all sorts of things, these original ones cost a lot of money. And they don't cost a lot of money for no reason. They've been discontinued, I believe. So enough of the Svetlanas for now. I've got a huge collection of tubes. There's another tube there, look. What's that one? That's another EL34, but notice it's a different colour. So what's in the packet? Who knows? There could be anything. Sometimes they get swapped out and all sorts. No, it's another Svetlana, but it's a different colour, like I said. So it's a different match. And I don't see any date codes on these. They're just as they are. Which is a pity. Fact is, regarding these blues, I've probably got the other three out there, or maybe even here somewhere else. We'll see later, won't we? Now then, Watford valves. I've been everywhere, haven't I? But I bought these actually some while back. In fact, a fair number of years ago. And I bought them, anybody that's sort of seen my reviews on amps will know that I had a Ceriatone or Ceriatone as I call it, HRM amp, which was it's a 50 watt and it uses 5881 tubes. So I bought these for the Ceriatone HRM. Let's see if we can get them out. Yeah, there it is. A Harma 5881. You can see it. Has it got any date codes or anything? It's got nothing on it. It doesn't tell you really much of anything about the tube, if you notice. There's nothing on the packet. There's nothing on this packet. It's just a tube. And in the other packet is the other one. Well, why aren't they in the HRM? Well, it's very simple, really. These were... I need you to listen to this. These were purchased as a matched set. Yeah, match set. That means the two of them will work together in harmony and be pretty much the same on all the settings and the, or should I say the measurements, not settings. Anyway, there it is. And the fact is, they weren't the same. They were like a dog's eye in the leg. One was going one way and one was going the other. But I paid for the match set, of course. So that's another story. We'll come back to all of these things later when we go up top. Well, this again is the first of a story. Yeah, if you're putting them in a 50 watt amp, you only need two, of course, don't you? And if we open this one up, there it is, it says GT, but of course, it's not GT at all. It's my old friends. Let's move them out of the way. It's my old friends, EL34Ls. Yeah, JJs again. They've been in and out an amp, and that's about it. Yeah, it's not a lot to say about them, except this. These again, when I bought them, were sold as matched pairs. It's very important to me, at least, I don't know about you, but it is to me, that they're matched pairs. If you look really carefully at these two tubes, you can see that that one there on the right has got a duller marking than this one on the left. And that's because this one's been hotter than that one by a bit. And I can tell you now it's the tube, or tubes, let's call it tubes, because out they came and they went in this packet over here, and thanks very much, never to be used again. Let's put them back and move on. There's much more to cover. Now you might think, I know, you might think that these are the same ones. Well, no, they're not, but here they are. And these are EL34Ms, rating of 5, the pair of them. Well, let's pull them out, let's have a look what we've got. It's all interesting when somebody shows you stuff like this, because you won't believe what I'm going to tell you, stuff I'm telling you. Here it is, there's two of them here. And it's A05 and A68 and 670 and 670 on the TC. The PC on both of them's 30. The NR is A68 on one and A05 on the other. They're EL34L-CZs, and there they are. These are ruby tubes. Yeah. So sorry, GT. I take it all back. These are ruby. We've heard of them, haven't we? And once again, if you look at these, if you look at this pair, you can see that at the top of the logo, it's nice and red. And down here, it's all faded. You see that? There's probably pictures on the screen as I'm talking this way, so don't worry too much if you can't see them immediately, but they'll be on. And this is a set of tubes that have come out because, once again, they overheated. I can't tell you the exact date of them, but what are they worth? Well, they're not worth anything, they're just more tubes to throw on the pile. And by the way, the GT tubes that were in those packets, I'll just pull the packet back. They were massive aggravation. They were bought as a match set, and they weren't matched, they were miles out. One was running at about, I don't know, let's just choose two figures, 27, and the other was about 34 or 36. It was miles out. I don't like to see that, especially when I've paid for a match set and they're not a match set. Honestly, you can't really trust people, and in this case, it was this company here. Call them what you like, but that's how they were. You've only got my word for it, but that's a fact. Now I've got another Preamp Doctor box here, but unfortunately inside they're not Preamp Doctor tubes. What they are, these are the tubes that I pulled out of an amp because they were trouble really. They wouldn't, well, they weren't balanced, they weren't this, they weren't that, and they were old. There they are. Fancy that. Harma 6L6GC STR superior grade, it says there. No. Here they are. Here's the other one. Come as a pair. These came out actually of my Mark V. Yeah, that's where them came from. And I was never a fan of Harma. I was never a fan of believing about, you know, putting your tubes in the freezer and it changes everything and all this sort of junky, rubbishy, stupid, horrible idea. Somebody can correct me if they want, but it will make no difference. You won't change my opinion. But there they are. Yeah, what did I fit? Well, I fitted Preamp Doctor tubes. And I know I did because it says so. But here, you can see that PC38 on both of them, TC631 on both of them. We've got A99 and 12AA and B13 and 12AA, so they're near enough perfect really. Let's put them back and we'll talk generally about Harma and the others later. And by the way, I'm not actually here to slag any of these companies off. Far from it. What I'm doing is educating you about my experiences. There's a subtle difference. And what have we got next? Well, you might be surprised, although you might not. Oh look, a couple, a duet, of JJ6L6 GC. Well, Tony, I thought you said you didn't like JJ. You seem to have a lot of them here. I do have a lot of them, don't I? Well, I've got a lot more of them as well. But they're not in any amps. Haven't you noticed something? The amp's missing. Yeah, and it says here matched 56, and it says matched 56. And I'm telling you now, I'm telling you absolutely, without question, they're not matched. They're miles out. That's why they're here. Oh my God. Well, plus the fact I don't trust them. Oh, these are going to be interesting. It says here, new from EVH. Well, at least them two are. I don't know what's in the other two, but let's have a look. Let's see what we've actually got here. What was worrying about these tubes, always is when you get a couple of tubes like this. Remember, it's a brand new amp. You've got a couple of tubes like that. Seems to me that these are 6L6s, but it doesn't say. It doesn't say what they are. You've got to go away and put it. There's something there that says 6J0. It doesn't really mean a bean to me. Does it to you? Well, it might. Equally, it doesn't mean anything to me, and it doesn't mean anything to you, highly likely. There's no brand on them whatsoever. You don't know where they're from, you don't know the history, you don't... Can you trust them? I've seen so many tubes, you know, give trouble one way or another, and we're going to draw your attention to these things a bit later when I get close up to some tubes that I've just bought, and I'm going to show you the difference between those tubes and all these other tubes that I've actually pulled out as opposed to what I've actually got. Let's put them back for now and move on. Now, just before we do move on, in this other side here, I have a duet of TAD tubes, 6L6 GC STR selected. It very clearly says that on both of them. So you know right away, the first thing in life, you know that they've been selected. Along the bottom here, they're near enough exactly the same numbers. We've got 3737, 664, 664, Q6P A48 and A07, but very well matched. They're probably just a spare set. That's where they're destined to lie in there, in that packet. But more about TAD tubes later. No location, no brand. We'll discuss that. That's another point I want to really cover regarding brands and location and where they're made. People talk to me all the time about, Tony, why don't you like this or why don't you like that? We'll be covering it. Let's see if there's anything else in here interesting. Now once again you can see the Tube Amp Doctor box, but they're not Tube Amp Doctor tubes that are inside. The ones that came from Tube Amp Doctor are currently inside an amp. Yeah, well here we go. Oh look, what did I pull out? I pulled out JJ 6V6 S's. Well, what's wrong with them? Well, not a lot. They both say 23 on the top, if you can see that. They both have the same label. This one's very slightly dark at the top, but they're not in there. They were pulled out and Tube Amp Doctors were put in there, and we'll cover why as we move forward. But as you can see, the ones that were fitted, oops, best have them the right way around. Here we are. All the numbers are near enough exactly the same. This is what you're paying for, among other things. Well, this is a different turn up for the books, because you'll be saying, what's in there, Tony? Let me show you what's in there. You just love it, don't you? I do. This is awesome. Here they are. Engl Tube Power 6L6 GC, and it's got a number 22 at the bottom, grade 22. And strangely enough, this is a matching tube, and it's got a 22 at the bottom, although it's been striped out from going in and out the tube. Well, what's all that about, Tone? Why have you got two 6L6 GCs? Well, the answer's simple really. I pulled them out of an Engl amp. Yeah, that's why it says Engl on. But once again, you don't really know much about these tubes, and it's very, very difficult to pin down where they actually came from. Who made them? Are they going to light up like a light bulb? Are they indeed? Are they even, are they JJ? Are they some Chinese brand that's unheard of, untested, untried, everything? Did the company that put the label on the front and had the number matched go like that and thanks, it worked? Who knows? Who knows? Actually, in this case, I do think Engl used decent tubes, and I do know that Engl, from what I've seen of recent, actually used Tube Amp Doctor tubes, so that's another story. Maybe they got fed up with these, and God knows what Diesel did after that one blew up in my amp. Now actually today, all we're talking about are power amp tubes, not these preamp tubes, not these little things. I'm going to do a different video about them. They're probably just as exciting really, but we'll see about that. These are just some that fell out of the box and I've just thrown them back. Okay, let's move on to what I'm really here for, what I'm wanting to talk about. You can see here, well you can on this one, that these are Tube Amp Doctor selected tubes, premium quality. Well, that's before. This is some of the things that they talked about. I'm not sure there's on any of these, but let's cover it. This is, all the tubes are individually tested. These are the tests that they did. Plate current, amplification, shorts and leakage, low noise, low microphonics, sonical test, it's a German phrase, shock test, listening test, 6 months warranty, not the 90 days that you typically get from a lot of people. Yeah, well I'm not talking about this set, I'm actually talking about this set, because these were bought very recently. With a bit of luck you'll be able to read those numbers. Yeah, PC 26, 26, 26 and 26, TC 984, 984, 984 and 984. you've got this 21AB, 21AB, 21AB and 21AB, and the last digit down this end here, I don't know what it stands for, I don't really care, but they do vary between tubes. This one's D48, C91, A42 and A00. But I'm not too worried about that number, it's all these other numbers that go to make these better tubes, in my opinion. Here we are, EL34M, TAD tube, premium matched quartet. So the Tube Amp Doctor tubes, this is the model, they're an RT-EL34M.4, and the .4 means that they're a quad matched, I believe. They're very reminiscent, they say, of black plate tubes and all this sort of stuff. Well, I'm not too into that. I'm not really here to discuss the models in so much, but more really the logic behind these tubes. And I just want to pull one out. If I can get it out. They are brand new tubes. This is how they come. And there it is. Once again, it's not actually got any brand on it. But you know what? There's lots of reasons why I trust this company totally, and one of them, I'm going to show you close up on this tube. It's something that nobody's probably ever showed you for a brand new tube, and I haven't seen it on any other brand anywhere except these ones they've been supplied. It's not noticeable unless you actually go and have a look. By the way, these are week 15 2021. There they are. These are EL34Ms, like I said. So, well, what's a secret tone? Well, let's take a real close look at the glass. And let's turn this tube until we see, you can see there's two slits. You see them? Where those two slits are, and actually round the front there are two more slits, and you can see things going on at the front. But let's go round to the back, let's stay at the back, and you can see right there. What I would say to you is this, that right there, outside of those two slots in the metal, I can actually see where the tube's been burned in, because it's actually stained the glass right above those two holes, for want of a better word. Now what that says to me, it says this tube has been tried and tested by those German guys, not like any other brand that I can find. And it doesn't matter what you want to go and look for, even when I look at Mesa Boogie tubes or JJ tubes that claim to be matched and set and burned in and this and that and the other, or these Watford ones, or any of the others in fact, even the EL34 reissue Mullards aren't like that. This is the only brand I can find anywhere where they supply you a tube that's clearly been burned in for some time. Now that might not matter to you. It might be, so what? You've bought a semi-worn tube. That could be an argument. I just wanted to bring that to your attention before we go back up. And if I was to pull any of these tubes out, any of them, they're all the same. They've all been. You can see it, it's sort of marked almost, but in a good way. So, my friends, what's this all about? Well, what it's all about is this. I've had experience with tubes, faffing around with tubes, going all the way back to 1971. I've got every maker that you can think about that's told me, almost every maker that you can think about that's told me these tubes are matched, they selected, they this, they that, they the other. They write stupid little numbers on the top of the tubes, or one digit on, or one colour, or one this, or one that. They often don't say where the tubes are from, which is another little bit of a thing. I mean, you wouldn't buy a car that you'd never seen before and it's got no badges on, would you? Would you? Of course you wouldn't. You wouldn't buy a spanner that's got no number on it and you've got to try and guess whether it's AF or Whitworth or whatever it is. You wouldn't Well, you go figure. You wouldn't buy a Fender guitar that doesn't say Fender on the neck, would you? Yeah, there's thousands of examples, and I'm sure you can come up with your own, but where I come from, if you go and get, or if I was to go and get all the tubes that I've got in the studio, and trust me, this is just, it's probably a quarter of the tubes that I've actually got. Very, very scary. How much money's worth is there? And when you take into account, you know, ridiculous situations, ridiculous stuff here are 62 and 4.6. They say so themselves on the bloody tubes and the crap. How can you trust people? Trust. That's the magic word. Trust. Do you trust people? Well, if you trust someone, hey, hand over 10,000 quid and trust me. See how long it lasts. They do it to anybody on the internet. See how long it lasts. So why are any of these suppliers, and I mean any of them, any different? Why are they different? You can't trust who makes them. Doesn't say. You can't trust the figures on there. Anybody can write figures on, even you could. You can't trust they're actually selected. You can't trust they've been burned in, generally. In fact, you can't trust anything about any of them. And trust is a massive thing when it comes to, well, when it comes to buying something, that you have to trust the seller. Honestly. And that's why them matter. It's not the brand itself. It's not the physical country of manufacture. It's not really any of those things. What really matters to me is that I can get a product and I can take that product, I can look at it, I can put it in an amp, I can do all my tests with my biasing gear and look at the balancing and all the rest of it. I can see physical proof that these have been burned in. And you know what? I believe the company. And the reason I believe the company, these people have been doing this for years. They're not cheap. They're not the cheapest. You want cheap, if you want cheap tubes, I could call them something else. If you want cheap tubes, go buy some JJs for what they're worth. Best of luck with them. Yeah. Oh, yours have been fine. Well, they might be. But some of these have been fine. All I'm telling you is if you want tubes that you can trust and you've got to earn a living with them. Let's put it that way around. If you're one of the people that's earning a living with your amp, you want tried and tested tubes in the same way as you want an amplifier. I've got a pile of them right down in the room. Here, right now. Those amps need to be totally, completely trustworthy. That is, you turn it on tomorrow and it's going to work. It's not going to fail through some donkey tubes. Half donkey, sorry. You'll get it. Yeah. And that's why you put these in. And when you put these in, they start off by giving you 6 months warranty. Well, how many of these others will give you 6 months warranty? Whether they're independent suppliers. Oh, what's the warranty on these GT tubes? Let's have a quick look. But it doesn't even say. 90 days. And that's a purported brand. 90 days. In fact, they all say 90 days or less. Yeah. That's not a good idea. I think Mesa might go to 6 months. I've been asleep since I looked at the spec and the rest, but these are 6 months. They no ifs, no buts, no ahs. 25 years of tube amp doctor. What more can I say? You want the best? Well, you can buy these anywhere in the world these days. They sell that many of them. And, you know, I've never had a dodgy tube. Not a single dodgy tube from Tube Amp Doctor. And that's why I like these. It's why I don't like them. I don't like them. Actually, I do like them if I can trust them and I can buy them still. I do actually like these as well if I can trust them. It's all to do with the supplier in that respect. Even if these were Chinese tubes, they could be. I don't know. There's no difference with these regarding any of them. Even if they were Chinese tubes, the reason these don't fail and the Chinese general run-of-the-mill do. It's very simple. These have been burned in and burned in and burned in until they either pass or they fail. The Chinese tubes you buy, you'll know which ones. There's a pile of them over there. Yeah, well, oh, it lights up, yeah. That's its number. Next. And what happens is you'll always have a percentage of tubes that fail from manufacture or within a short period of time. And that's where these stand out, because this procedure roots out all the junk. Oh, the ones you buy, right. Yeah. It's all funny, it's all laughable, it's all ho ho ho, it won't happen to me, until it costs you your amp, and it can do. So it's a short video. It's not that short though, is it? I mean, these amps have been moved in here, by the way, because the studio build is actually going ahead. Yeah, finally I've found a builder. It just takes forever. Yeah, so that's it for now. Now you know why I buy these. It's not to do with the country of origin, it's to do with all those features, all them things that I've discussed all through this video. It's turned out to be a slightly longer video, but hopefully it should have helped you a little bit in looking at some of the problems that I've seen firsthand. And look how many tubes I've got that I wouldn't give to the dog. That's it for now. Don't forget to visit www.tennymackenzie.com if you get a chance. Still some stuff on there that I haven't updated or added to, but there's still a lot of stuff to look at. So don't forget to get there, and yeah, watch out for those other videos coming up with spotlighting series in 1975 and then a 1978, and there's at least another 6 over there just off camera of different eras that we're going to cover. And you know, if you want to buy a Marshall amp, a 100 watt JMP for £280, I think the 1975 one's got it available. So until next time, get out of here.